Welcome back to Morning. Well, Darren Hayes from Brisbane duo Savage Garden gave us worldwide hits like Truly, Madly, Deeply and I Know I Loved You. In fact, there is not a single English-speaking country in the world that Savage Garden didn't have a hit in. Well, Darren Hayes heads home for his first tour in 3 years. He is on the verge of something wonderful. And Darren Hayes joins me from London. Darren, a very good morning from a Brizzy girl from Sandgate to a Logan City boy from Brisbane as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely delightful. We've seen a smidgen of that song from the new album, On the Verge of Something Wonderful. What are you telling us?
It's a song about being at the precipice of a giant leap, and hopefully a leap into something, extraordinary. And I guess I'm also saying, this is me really taking some risks in my life.
And risks you are taking. You are backing. This is your label. You're backing yourself here with this whole album, with the upcoming single.
Yep.
How much anticipation or nervousness does that give you?
Oh, a tremendous amount. I think at the moment I'm excited and relaxed about it, but the album took 3 years to make, and during that period I was sort of having a very sort of messy exit from a major record company. So the story is a very old story. Many artists have been through it. But, when you've had incredibly lucky success as I'd had with Savage Garden and being at a major label, the idea of not having a record deal or doing it on your own at first is, it's kind of crazy and it's kind of terrifying. So I had to be really comfortable with that. So it took a lot of guts, really, and a lot of patience and thinking.
Well, guts indeed. The other song, A Delicate Thing We've Made, what is the feel behind that song and that album?
The album's called This Delicate Thing We've Made. It sounds complicated. It's really just a record of songs about relationships. For me, I had a year in my life that was simultaneously the happiest and the saddest. I met Richard, the man that I married and the love of my life in England, but the same year I actually buried one of my best friends who died of HIV-related cancer. I had my best friend give birth to the child that became my godson, and I lost my record deal. So I was looking at my world as being this delicate balance, and I wanted to write a record about how fragile it all is, and also how wonderful it is.
Your best friend being? Who had the baby?
My best friend is Leonie, and she's about to have her second child.
Wow.
In about 3 weeks, actually. I should be home to see the birth of the second baby. But her name was Leonie, and my friend who passed away, his name was Shane.
Well, such a life of hurdles. In fact, it has been your life. As I mentioned, you're a Brisbane boy. You grew up working class Brisbane, a dysfunctional family, a tough life and relationship with your father. The impact on that, Darren, is just overwhelming.
I think I feel really lucky for the life that I've led, actually. I mean, it's funny, I talk on this record about if I could go back in time, what would I change? But the truth is I wouldn't change anything. I adore my family, and even my father. I'm sure he cringes every time I speak about our life together, because he's a survivor, and he truly, battled and won the fight against alcoholism. But yeah, growing up, he was an angry man, and it was a very tough childhood. But that childhood for me, it was the catalyst that made me want to become someone else. It made me want to write songs and to escape. And so, in some ways, I kind of I think had I not had the experiences that I had as a child, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
Well, indeed. I mean, you've enjoyed the extraordinary heights of success. The songs that you've written are some of the world's most beautiful. But growing up as a teenager in Brisbane, questioning your own sexuality in a tough household, that could not have been easy. Was music then your solace?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my favourite memories as a kid were walking down to a record store called Woody's Music Store. It's still there. I still go to Woody's every time I come home. And, I got picked on terribly at school. I was, I was a sensitive, feminine, artistic theatre type, as most young gay men sort of are. I didn't play football. I came from a family with a big, tough alpha male and a brother who was, amazingly talented at sports. And I didn't fit in, really. But music and the record bar and Saturday mornings, where I could go and not even afford them, but just look at records, that to me was a real lifesaver, actually.
Indeed. Well, Darren, live from London, I'd love you to stay with us because I want to talk more about your upcoming tour called The Time Machine, on the verge of something wonderful, a new song, and, of course, this delicate thing we've made. Darren Hayes from London. We'll be back after the break. Darren Hayes joins us live from London. Darren, again, good morning to you. If we're still in the Brisbane days and how tough it was for you bullying, you found solace in your music and then formed with Daniel Jones this wonderful songwriting team. Where did the name Savage Garden come from?
Oh, gosh. The name Savage Garden eventually came from these novels by Anne Rice. She's an American writer from New Orleans, and she wrote about vampires. But the truth is the band had about 10 names before that, and each one was taken. So by the time I stumbled across this idea that the band would be called Savage Garden, I think that Daniel and the managers and the record companies just went, we'll take anything, and it kind of stuck. But it sounded like a heavy metal band at the time, which was quite a jolt, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, such beautiful music, as I mentioned. I saw only a little while ago there was a fly-on-the-wall DVD of one of your tours, and I've got to say I sat there riveted to this because it showed a very vulnerable Darren Hayes, a guy who was fearful of losing his voice. I worried for you at the time. Do you look back at those times now and realise how vulnerable you were?
Oh, for sure. I think, we talked about this a little bit before the break, but, I think for me, becoming a performer was this massive escapism. And when it worked, it was brilliant because I was in this band and the band were very successful, and suddenly all of our financial problems were solved. I got to take care of my family and we weren't poor anymore. And that was all sort of idealistic and perfect. But the reality is when the band ended, and when I really had to deal with who I was as a person and the things that I was running away from, that was really hard to do when I wasn't selling out arenas, when I wasn't having hits in America, and I couldn't get arrested. And it's amazing how much you learn actually from failure, because that was my make it or break it point in my life. And I look at that documentary and it makes me sad too, because I think, gosh, I was so unhappy then. But, it was all a learning curve.
Well, what can the rest of us learn out of that failure that you've experienced? The worldwide hits, the extraordinary talent and the delivery, then all of a sudden nothing, which I'm led to believe drove you to therapy for a couple of years. Was that true, and what do we learn?
Oh, gosh. Oh, yes, it's true. I've had therapy, of course. I actually come from a family where depression is actually just a part of our DNA, and I wouldn't say that it was not having hits that drove me to therapy, but I would say that not having that sort of blanket of success to protect me and distract me from the things that I was, feeling inside definitely led me to want to ask questions and sort of get on top of depression, really. I remember just waking up one day and saying, I'm sick of being sad. I have everything to live for. I have such an extraordinary life. I think you can take away all of the trappings of fame and all of those things, because I never really enjoyed them anyway. I think I'm a terrible celebrity. I don't have fancy cars, I don't go to fancy parties or whatever, but I think my story maybe is universal because I looked for things outside of myself to complete me or to make me happy. And those things never work, until you accept yourself and until you know yourself or you forgive. I forgave my father. There's certain things that you have to do, I think, in your life as a young person to grow up and then become a man or become an adult. And I hadn't done those things. So maybe that's what my lesson has been.
Well, evolution and reinvention, I congratulate you on that. You said your family's not poor anymore. I mean, clearly from the royalties, you're very wealthy. What is the best thing, material thing, that you've been able to provide for your family? Your mum and dad?
Oh, gosh. I get emotional about it because my parents worked really hard when I was growing up, and my mum especially, one of my favourite memories as a kid actually is that, you know what Red Rooster is, or Big Rooster?
Yep.
Do you had that?
Yep.
You're a Queensland girl.
Yep.
So we had a Christmas one year where we were in a caravan park, and we had a Red Rooster chicken on a park bench for Christmas, but my mum had saved up all year to buy me Star Wars men, so that on my Christmas day when I woke up, I think I was 9, that I had these amazing presents, and I will always remember that. I didn't actually care that we didn't have a lot of money. I know Mum and Dad almost went bankrupt when we were kids, but knowing that my parents didn't have a mortgage anymore, that's been the best thing that I could have bought from Savage Garden or any of the success is just making sure that I knew that no matter what happened, we would never be in a caravan again, or we would never be struggling for a roof over our head. That's been the best thing.
And of course, growing up in Brisbane, like all of our lives, there are ups and downs, but there was a remark that was attributed to you that has, since then had a bit of controversy, that you call Brisbane a self-confessed Butch Australian province of Brisbane. That's where you came from. What's the reality of what you said?
Well, first of all, I didn't say that. Do you know about that story?
I just wanted the opportunity to clear that up. That's the thing about celebrity.
I didn't say that. I know. I did not say that. That quote is actually from an amazing journalist in England called Paul Flynn. And instead of having a press release or a fake, stars and celebrities often have a very well-written press release or whatever, this man wrote a story about me. And it was an amazing story about my life. And actually what he said about Brisbane was 35 years ago was kind of true, actually. I mean, it was a tough town. And, I think Brisbane is known for being certainly a tough society. I mean, there's a lot of farming communities. I mean, my dad, my brother, they're men who have calluses on their hands because they built parts of the city. And my brother's a carpenter. My dad has done everything from being a garbage man to working in the Merchant Navy. But anyway, that was a quote that a journalist said about the town that I grew up in.
Do you love Brisbane, Darren?
Of course oh my God, of course I do.
Well,
yeah, I actually got upset about that because to me, my relationship to Brisbane has always been such that no one treats me like I'm famous, and I love that. I come home all the time and I spend time with my sister and her kids and Mum and Dad, and it's my oasis, actually, away from attention.
Well, Darren,
Definitely.
I've got to say it's a real treat to talk to you. I have admired your work for so very long. In fact, you're a Brisbane boy.
Can I have a fan moment? Can I have a fan moment with you? Because it's a real treat for me, actually, because I've wanted to do your show for years, and as a boy growing up, and I don't want to make you feel old because you look fabulous.
You haven't got return
you
vision.
are a celebrity. You are a celebrity to me, and I remember watching you and thinking you were so glamorous as a little boy, and I wanted to congratulate you on 1,000 episodes of the show because it's fantastic.
Well,
so thanks for having me.
Darren, you've made an old girl feel real good. Someone with your talent, because I have, as I said, admired it. I love the fact you're from Brisbane. There's something about Queenslanders. Once a Queenslander, always a Queenslander, unashamedly.
Yeah.
Your Time Machine
sure.
tour is upcoming. It's October. We've got the dates up there. If anybody misses it, just go to our website. But continued success. I know Australia will embrace this new single. They will embrace the album. It is an evolution for Darren Hayes, and I thank you, and especially on our 1000th show, Darren Hayes live from London. I really do appreciate your time.
Likewise, thanks so much.
Good morning, Darren.